Their bravery helped save the world.
Tremendous amount of casualties. Something that every June 6th I think about.
Now, these Valley veterans experience the tributes to their sacrifice.
This is history behind me, and I love it very much.
Some for the very first time.
All the countries I've been in, states I've been in, I'd never been to Washington.
Memories of heroism from so long ago.
If they see the memorial, it takes them right back to day one.
Getting a well-deserved honor today.
To remind them that they're not invisible and that we haven't forgotten about them and what they did.
Their numbers dwindling, their impact as powerful as ever.
These are my guys, huh?
A special salute to the greatest generation.
Never expected anything like this.
You're watching Honor Flight, a 13 Action News salute to veterans. Sponsored by Albertsons and Vaughn's Foundations.
Hello everyone, I'm Ty Quinones.
And I'm Trisha Keene, and thank you for joining us for Honor Flight, a 13 Action News salute to veterans. Today we honor the men and women who put their lives on the line to fight for our country.
Well, veterans from around Southern Nevada, they recently received a really special honor, an all expenses paid trip to our nation's capital to visit the memorials built to commemorate their service. This is all thanks to Honor Flight Southern Nevada.
That's right, and 13 Action News went along on that trip. And now we're happy to invite you and introduce you to some of our local heroes. Our own Leah Pizzetti kicks things off with insight into this emotional weekend.
Before they boarded the plane, a crowd gave 25 local veterans who served in Vietnam, Korea, and World War II a proper send-off. Destination, Washington, D.C. A whirlwind tour of military memorials starts with a visit to the World War II Memorial, then off to Iwo Jima.
Semper Fi.
Followed by a stop at the Air Force Memorial, which brought out emotions one vet couldn't describe.
Combination of a little bit all emotions, but I can't define a particular one.
From there, Arlington National Cemetery to watch the changing of the guard, then to the Korean Memorial, where 4 Southern Nevada veterans placed a wreath down to the solemn sound of taps. At the Vietnam Memorial, one veteran knew exactly where to go.
I go straight to panel 1E, line 119, where his name is.
Plus the Lincoln and Navy memorials, then finally the National Archives. The busy day requiring a police escort through that DC traffic. At every stop, the message was clear.
Thank you for your service.
That thanks shone through kisses on the cheeks, handshakes.
How are you doing?
Everywhere they went. Handwritten notes from loved ones and strangers on the flight back home.
Manji is so lucky to have a brother like you.
And a water salute from the fire department when landing, a firefighter's way of saying thank you. All of this leaving the veterans speechless.
All the countries I've been in, states I've been in, I'd never been to Washington. 84 years old, I finally get to see it.
A chance to see the memorials built to honor those who served on the flight of a lifetime.
Wow, what an experience for them.
Yeah.
And this trip truly was a trip of a lifetime for our local heroes. For some, it was actually their first time in our nation's capital.
And Leah, you actually witnessed some of these emotions from laughter to tears. It kind of ran the gamut here.
Yeah, Trisha, Todd, a lot of these veterans don't typically let their guard down the way they did on that weekend. Some shared war stories with each other that they'd never been able to talk about before. So it was a chance for them to not only see these memorials, but find comfort with each other. One very special and unplanned moment happened for one man at Arlington National Cemetery. The trip took a quick detour for one of the vets, Gene Albright, so he could visit his grandfather's grave. Gene was overcome with gratitude and emotion. While kneeling at the grave, he shared stories like his grandfather teaching him how to fish as a child. Then Honor Flight gave him a small token to leave as a gift.
That's about the nicest, kindest gesture ever made to me to allow this to happen. I'm so grateful to all of you.
Jean's grandfather was a war hero. He was in the Navy and saved a group of people from a fire on a ship. His grandfather was awarded the Medal of Honor. We caught up with Jean after the trip, and he showed us this award and reflected on those moments at Arlington.
A lot of things ran through your mind at one time. It flowed like a river. And the emotion chokes you up a little bit right at that point. It was the resulting feel of comfort to see a loved one that you had not seen for so long.
Now, Jean's grandfather was in the Navy, and Jean says his grandfather is the reason he joined the Navy. And Tricia, Todd, almost every branch was represented on this trip, and they're definitely all a proud bunch.
Yes, we know.
Yes, definitely deserve to be proud, but I have to say Marines, they are a proud bunch as well.
Yes.
They might take the cake on that one. My grandfather's a Marine, and he lets everybody know.
Yes.
He lets everybody know. But one of the Marines on the trip, his name was Dave, Dancing Dave. At one of the stops, Iwo Jima, Dave opened up about the pain he lives with every day. An extroverted Marine.
Semper Fi.
Enjoying his trip to Iwo Jima, a memorial in Washington, D.C. dedicated to Marines.
How you doing? Welcome to your memorial. Yeah, thank you very much. We earned it.
He's known as Dancing Dave, and he's always ready to poke fun at someone.
What's the matter, Belinda?
But for as quickly as his laugh explodes,
I'm hurt.
it disappears just as fast.
It's hurting. A lot of memories come up.
His uncle fought at Iwo Jima, and this statue brings out a different side of Dancing Dave.
Certain times that it happens, and that's when that's when you feel it. It's flashbacks.
He says his smile is a cover-up for the pain he feels when remembering the friends and family he's lost.
There's a facade, but still, try to stay positive because of all the things that you go through.
Things it's hard to talk about, but important to remember. Now, Dave was certainly emotional on this trip, and a lot of them did hold in their emotion a little bit more than Dave, but the beautiful thing was that they were together.
Right.
And they were able to share in these emotions together. Dave's guardian is also a Marine, and so they had that bond together.
Yeah, tough guys, obviously, for everything they've been through together,
Yeah.
but those emotions still they carry with them through all these years.
Yeah.
And you saw.
Yeah, you never get over it, really.
And it comes out so quickly.
Right, right. All right, Leah, thank you.
Well, straight ahead, witness to D-Day, two local men were there at one of the deadliest battles in U.S. history.
Tremendous amount of casualties. You know, something that every June 6th I think about.
Meet the World War II veterans who recount their time in the service and their lives since Normandy. But first, another moment from Dancing Dave as he shares his sorrow about his time in service.
When I was going through boot camp, one of the things that they told us, don't make friends. Don't make friends. A lot of them are just acquaintances that have passed through my lifetime. It's hard to make friends when you don't know if they're going to be there or not.
Two faces of World War II. They left the U.S. as young men and then came back as D-Day war heroes. Dean Whitaker witnessed it from the sky, while Jerry Deitch saw it from the beaches of Normandy. Jerry says that he had the chance to return to Normandy, but he's never felt really emotionally ready.
That's right. It took him 75 years, but this year he finally found the strength to go back to France. We followed his journey as he put his D-Day memories to rest.
Almost his whole life, the memories have remained vivid.
It was tough. I was fortunate, but soldiers were dying all around me.
Watching back video of D-Day reminds Jerry Deitch of that tragic day.
It seemed like it took hours, but within a half hour, there were dead soldiers just floating in the water. I got to tell you, when we made that landing, everybody was praying. all of a sudden, religion hit us.
Jerry and his team were tasked with using explosives to clear a path on Utah Beach. He was hit in the head by flying shrapnel and ended up being sent home, so he hasn't seen this stretch of beach in the 75 years since. This was Jerry before the D-Day anniversary.
The only one I have.
And this is Jerry just 6 weeks later.
Chose me at 17.
A changed man.
I said, I'm glad I went, because I did. Absolutely. I felt relieved, to put it mildly.
Thanks to the Best Defense Foundation, Jerry and a group of veterans from around the country returned to France. And for Jerry, it was surreal.
Every step I took, it was as if I was there the other day. You know, it just, memory came back, and I walked to a spot at the seawall, and I said, this is the exact spot that I got hit.
Flashbacks of losing friends around him.
That was an emotional part, but I took it very bravely. You know, I saw visions in my mind of everything that happened, of the landing and all.
Visions that come around every year.
Every June 6th, my wife will tell you, I had a nightmare.
He hopes this return trip, this salute to the heroes of Normandy, will put those nightmares to rest. And Jerry is truly impressive. I have to give him a shout out. He's 93 years old. He was the second oldest person on this flight. Wow. And you saw that they used the wheelchairs. Right, yeah. It was a long day, just way to give them a chance to relax. Jerry did not use the wheelchair at all.
That's amazing to have that kind of energy. Wow. And he also shared this moment with family.
Yeah, his family was able to go meet us there in DC and travel with us to all these memorials. So it was definitely special for them as well to be there and get to see all of that. All right, well, one of our other World War II veterans on the trip was Dean Whitaker. Dean had a different perspective of D-Day. He flew over the shores of Normandy. He shares his story now to bridge the gap between the greatest generation and the youngest. A peaceful memorial that represents a horrific time in history.
It was such a huge war. It would be hard to compare it with anything.
As Dean Whitaker explores the World War II memorial, several other World War II vets stop to talk, and they all share their stories.
I was a prisoner of war.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they treat you bad?
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
I lost a few pounds.
They might be strangers, but they're bonded by their past. Dean, at 94, points out how many young people are visiting the memorial.
It's nice to have somebody come and see what you have been through.
And there's a special group of young people who wish they could have joined him. Dean made it to Washington, D.C. thanks to these Girl Scouts who sponsored his trip.
And it was so pleasing, you just wouldn't believe it.
After he returned home, the group reconnected to hear about his experience in D.C. and also his experience in war.
Our plane was shot up all the time. Never did come back without holes in it.
A bombardier in World War II, Dean was shot down in 1944, forced to parachute to the ground. Most of his crew shot and killed during that jump. He was spared, but taken as a prisoner of war.
This is a picture of the prison camp on when Patton came in.
He put together a book of his story, including the memories of his fallen brothers.
I was so lucky. My sacrifice was a minimum. You got to think about my crew members that got shot.
So now he shares this story with eager Girl Scouts.
We need to know what the older generation has gone through, because there's so much of stuff that we're not going to ever kind of go through. Just learning about that and just bridging that gap kind of between us, I think is really important. And that's why these things are really important.
Teaching them lessons.
What are some things that they could think about doing more of?
You know, that's a hard thing to do. How do you thank the veterans?
It might take little things like a pizza party or building a memorial. After almost 75 years, sometimes the best thing to say,
"How are you doing?"
is simply thanks.
Many of these men served during a time where there was no email, there were no texting. They hardly ever heard from home.
For many, their call to war was at a moment's notice. Coming up, how a few words.
I hope in some way this honor flight expresses our appreciation.
Brings up sincere emotions from our greatest heroes. But first, here's an unseen comical moment with Dean and the Girl Scouts.
That's my hat. And I get more response from this hat. This hat saves me money. It's surprising. Oh, you're a veteran of World War II?
An unlikely meeting for two different generations. And while the veterans were at the World War II memorial, a group of teens from Pahrump spotted World War II veteran Dean Whitaker. You can also see they're wearing Vegas Golden Knight t-shirts. They spent some time asking Dean questions and took a picture with him. Well, the weekend was a roller coaster of emotions. And once these veterans got on the flight home, they thought the surprises were over. But the honor flight had another one up their sleeve.
Well, this one brought out an even bigger variety of feelings, taking them back to mail call.
Attention, please.
A plane full of tired veterans and their guardians.
Mr. Gene Albright.
Perked back up by one final surprise.
He was a dispatcher, a tank mechanic, a sharpshooter, and he also served in Germany.
Announcements on the plane, followed by the one thing that used to keep them connected to loved ones when they were away.
Army, Marines.
Mail call.
Many of these men served during a time where there was no email, there were no texting. They hardly ever heard from home. But when they did, they had a mail call.
So on the flight home, hand-delivered letters to take these men back in time.
This is from my nephew Rick. He's a policeman.
Letters from family.
Lord Ross. He's one of our twin grandsons.
From strangers.
I am a Cub Scout.
All with the same theme.
Thank you so much for being a positive influence in my life. Oh my gosh.
Some bring out laughs.
Yeah, there's a dinosaur.
Some bring out love.
I also feel very lucky to be able to call you my friend. Sincerely, Carol Lusky. Isn't that a nice letter?
Others.
You served with pride, bravery, and courage. You are truly amazing. Thank you for making the sacrifices you did for all the Americans.
An impactful ending to a well-deserved trip.
On a scale of 100, it's 110. And that's with love, emotions, and meeting beautiful, wonderful people.
Just days before, they were strangers. Now, they're bonded over shared moments like these.
And as you just saw there, so many of our veterans, they were touched by heartfelt letters thanking them for their service and their best wishes for their trip to Washington, D.C. And one veteran, Gene Albright, was so moved that he decided to write his very own thank you letter right there.
That's right. And this is a note he wrote to each and every person who sent him mail. We recently connected with Gene as he shared what he wrote, and he says, "It is a tribute that makes me very proud to have served our country. I hope that someday you may look back and feel pride and accomplishment as I do."
Well, many of those letters came from local students. A 12-year-old Girl Scout collected, get this, more than 240 letters from her classmates. Now, those were just some of the letters distributed for mail call.
That's right. And that's not all Abigail did. She also donated all the money she raised from her cookie sales to give to Honor Flight to buy them brand new wheelchairs. In total, she raised about $1,200, which bought 8 brand new wheelchairs.
It just makes me really, really happy. There's a bunch of joy in volunteering and helping other people. Also makes them happy too. And it's really meaningful.
It really is, and what a great deed. The wheelchairs were used by our veterans as they toured the memorials in D.C.
Coming up next,
Welcome home.
the journey home from Washington, D.C.
For many veterans, this was their first welcome home, 75 years overdue. But first, a special moment on board their flight that brings a smile to everyone's face.
Put your right arm out, put your right arm in and shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you shake it all around. That's what it's all about. You put your left arm in, you pull your left arm out.
The final surprise was a big one. After the trip of a lifetime, they got the welcome home of a lifetime. The veterans were all greeted at McCarran Airport by a crowd of hundreds of people with signs and flags. The celebration catching many of them off guard.
It's like, wow, you know, all these people, you never expected anything like this. I mean, it's just overwhelming.
After they landed, it wasn't goodbye. 6 weeks after the trip, the veterans came together at the Elks Lodge for a reunion. We caught up with them to hear how they're settling in after their trip of a lifetime.
It brought back memories. It sunk in an awful lot of emotions, basically, for me. And I can't say enough for the people that put this together. They were just wonderful. They really hit all of the spots that needed to be hit.
It's quite awesome. It just, just made serving the service that much better.
We had fun, but we had many, many, many memories that will never disappear.
Yeah.
And it's obviously one of the highlights of my life.
I haven't been there for many, many years, and gave me the chance to see all the different war memorials.
Truly amazing, Leah.
Yeah, these men did so much, and they asked for so little.
Well, 13 Action News salutes all veterans who protected our freedom and continue to do so today.
We leave you with a look at the 25 men who took this honor flight, each one a hero, each one a living, breathing part of U.S. history.
Thank you for watching Honor Flight, a 13 Action News salute to veterans, sponsored by Albertsons and Vaughn's Foundations.